So, as a general reminder, I am still entertaining Magic the Gathering online submissions. I have a legacy and a modern deck to date. They're a little bit more expensive to submit than arena decks. They're $50 at a minimum, and I'm not taking actual everything, but decks that are tiered and aggressive are ones that I will definitely entertain playing because I do enjoy playing aggressively slanted decks in these formats on average a lot of the time. It's been a hot second since we played a fair deck in Legacy, so interested to see how this one goes. This is an aggressive fair deck. I see some people commenting on Oko. I actually did a double take when this submission came in because I just assumed that this card got like shift deleted everywhere in Magic, and I was like, oh, this card's actually still legal Legacy. Okay, let's elk some people. So we've got some Temur Delver here. So Delver of Secrets, which doesn't really work on my preview thing too well, combined with Dreadhorde Arcanist as our primary threats. And then we have a small green splash for Oko and Hooting Mandrills in the main deck, as well as a Sylvan Library for some card advantage and some Scavenging Oozes in the sideboard. The core of this deck is a Protect the Queen strategy, which for those not familiar basically means after we stick one of our key threats, we're going to use cards like Force of Will, Daze, Force of Negation, and Spell Pierce to try and keep our threat or our queen alive while we run our opponents down. We utilize cards like Wasteland to allow our soft counterspells like Spell Pierce and Daze to have longevity as the game goes on, as well as disrupt our opponents or help them die when they stumble a little bit. So let's go ahead and pop on into a Legacy League here with this one and see how it goes. So, I'm actually gonna keep this. Like, it's a little mana heavy, but like these are technically spells, and we could potentially get a Brainstorm to throw one of these back at some point, so we'll see. 1k bits if he kills one with Winter Orb this league, sounds good. Yeah, Wasteland is people that have heard me talk about Legacy before, while I will chuckle and happily Wasteland people out of games, I actually think Wasteland is a pretty obnoxious card from a theory perspective. I think cards like Wasteland actually add almost the same amount of variance to a format like Legacy as powerful cantrips like Ponder and Brainstorm remove from the format. So while Legacy has a lot of these kind of variance smoothing cards, it also has cards like Wasteland that add an incredible amount of variance to it. Speaking of cantrips and taking forever, you get 9 minutes for every decision on Moto. I don't really know what our opponent's doing. I feel like I should probably keep these in the dark. Oh gosh. Alright, okay. So I'm gonna say no to shuffling and I'm gonna draw these. What would you say are some of the cheaper decks to build in Legacy? If you're looking to build Legacy decks on a budget, I'd recommend finding a different format or hobby. Like, cheap is relative, and cheap Legacy decks are like still a grand a lot of the time. So I think my plan here is, since they fetched a basic land so they can't be wastelanded, we're going to take a little bit of a slower start here. There's a Brainstorm on top of our deck. Storm is relatively cheap. Put a price tag on relatively cheap. So we're probably going to Brainstorm, put 2 lands back, crack this fetch here in a second. Opponent's got a Preordain. I usually like being aggressive with my counter spells, especially my soft counters when my opponent's fetching lands like this that I can't get rid of. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw back these 2, and then I'm gonna go ahead and fetch a Trop and Spell Pierce this Preordain. Do deck prices vary between paper and MTGO flares? Yeah. Moto's, to set a low bar, Moto's a lot cheaper than paper. And I say, it's like, answer your question, I have no idea. Like, I don't play, like, I don't even when I play paper Magic sparingly, like, I don't look at prices. I don't own cards. I ask people for cards and then can often find them to be handed decks for events. Hey, Cage Out, thank you for the 3/4 of a year. I appreciate that. Welcome back. So playing the Wasteland here lets them know that we have it, but I think I want to just go ahead and deploy both of these threats, and I don't want to crack my fetch land yet, because I might want to use this fetch land to shuffle after I flash back this Brainstorm. The online price for Storm is $230. The paper price is just under $4,000. Sounds right. Okay, so he could be dead here. Yep, there's a sneak attack. So we're gonna activate this and put a thing into play. Probably an Emrakul that kills our board. Yeah, so Emrakul, for those not familiar, 15/15. When it attacks, we sacrifice 6 permanents, so we'll lose our entire board here. So I'm gonna go ahead and concede. We're gonna go ahead and board in Pyroblast here as a way to counter their show and tells. We're gonna board out these lightning bolts and a chain lightning. That's about all that's relevant here, right? Vapor Snag doesn't really do much. Because they either can't target Emrakul, or if they have Gristlebrand, they'll draw a bunch of cards with anyway. So I think we just board in the counter spells and then try and leave counter magic up since we know they're playing a combo deck now. All relevant topics. All topics aren't really off limits here, Hostage. Just be respectable and reasonable while discussing them. Easy mulligan here with no lands. I think we gotta go to 5 here, right? Like, this hand's got an aggressive start, and we'd keep this against a fair matchup, but I'm pretty sure I need a piece of disruption or a cantrip to find a piece of disruption in my opener. Yeah, this is fine. Pretty sure we're keeping a 1-lander here. We're gonna bottom this and this. You spend that much on this client. No, I don't spend anything on this client. So MTGO Traders is one of the sponsors that scrolls on my ticker there, and they are kind enough to provide me with cards to play. So I borrow things here. So opponent cast a spell there that was going to turn all of our lands into mountains, so he wouldn't be able to play Magic anymore. So I had to Force of Will that. I would love to reveal Spell Pierce to my Delver. There's a Besiege You. So this basically makes all of our counter spells no longer work. So what this means is, you know how I aggressively countered their cantrip in the first game? Now we're going to counter every cantrip that they cast because that's all these things can do now. I suppose we can still counter a Sneak and Show, but we can't counter Show and Tells anymore. That's correct, Gengar. It's literally a question you can see the answer to yourself. Hey, 5 more turns, chat. Slow ride. Take it easy. I think we any order shuffle these. There's no... I get the disruption's not very good, but not only is the disruption not good, but like the threats are pretty slow. So like if I draw the Delver, yeah, Wasteland would be great. I can also, if I draw the Delver, it doesn't flip. I'm gonna hold on to this land for now, because if I draw a Brainstorm, I'd like to put it back on top of my deck. That's actually a great draw, and I'm actually going to play this land out now, because playing the land out lets me Lightning Bolt them through a Spell Pierce, which is a card they occasionally play. Scale of 1 to dead, what are we working with here? Dead side of the scale, got it. Excellent, you love to see it. Does seeing Magus of the Moon change how I play? Yeah, I think actually these Okos are supposed to come out, and I think I should have done this from the start. I should have had the Okos out, and I should have left my burn spells in, because they can take a turn off the clock, which is nice. Rest of this seems fine. Yeah, like Legacy is largely like a different game than like, especially compared to like how standard Magic games play out, or the standard format games play out, or historic games. Like it almost feels like you're playing a completely different game, which is something we've talked about, right? Like Magic is a rules engine for lots of different games. It's not just one specific game type. We've not seen Omniscience. We got sneak attacked in the first game. Yeah, Daze is a real obnoxious card. Legacy and Vintage are Magic as Garfield intended. Couldn't be further from the truth. Drawing Delver on one here is superb. Actual best draw in the deck. Magic as Garfield intended was originally some amalgamation of limited, basically. And the reason why he made cards like Mox and Time Walk that were more powerful than others is he expected the game to be balanced by scarcity of the cards. Look at that. Delver flipped on one. Never not. I think we just start with Brainstorm. Do I start with Brainstorm? I've got the fetch land. So, like, I've got the fetch... I'm going to attack first. Let's attack. I've got the fetch land, but I also, like, don't really have any cards in my hand that I really want to get rid of. So the 31 months Apple Tunes. Maddie's in chat. That's why the Delver's flipping, because Maddie's in chat. My Delvers don't flip. Maddie's Delvers, however, always flip. So I could double cantrip. I'm probably double cantrip regardless. The question is, like, how am I sequencing the cantrips? It's either Ponder or Brainstorm to start, I think. I'm going to Ponder and hold the Brainstorm for later, which could come back to bite me, but... Ooh. Okay, so now I have to decide... Do I think Daze is enough to not die next turn. To which I think the answer is no. Like, I could take the Delver and, like, put another threat into play here, but I think I'm supposed to look for one of my 6 forces. I think we're supposed to look for one of our 6 forces. Well, deep regret not having Brainstorm to start. We'll see if they have a force for our Daze. They do have a force for our Daze, so probably did. Because that's how Magic works. Legacy has a lot of deep gameplay, but it also has an incredible number of non-games, just like this. So, you know, I had a couple of choices I could make there and how I sequence my cantrips, but we saw like 6 extra cards, never found a second of our 9 free counterspells, and now they have an Emrakul and we're dead. So, Magic, so something I've often talked about, you know, these cantrips reduce some of the non-games that the Legacy format has, but because of cards like Wasteland and really powerful cantrips like because of cards like Wasteland and really powerful combo decks that also get to leverage Force of Will, this format also has an incredible number of non-games, like basically non-games for different reasons. And that's something you really just can't get away from in Magic as a core feature of its game design, is the number of games where just like, you largely just die. I guess this is fine. I've got 3 cantrips we can dig for a threat. I'm gonna shuffle these because I'm looking for a threat. I mean, I don't even know if there were that many decisions. Like you could talk about like how I sequenced my cantrips like kind of being choices, but like my cantrips had one goal and then the entire game was decided by the fact that like my cantrips failed in their goal with the way I sequenced them. So like at the end of the day, I had one thing that I was shooting to do, and then when I failed to do it, I lost the game on the spot. Alright, we're going to keep these in that order. We'll draw a second force here. And that last game's actually a good example of why, like, people often talk about, like, you know, formats like Modern, they, like, wanted this card Force of Will printed into it, but Force of Will creates almost as many non-games as it prevents in a lot of ways because of, like, how that last game played out, where we're like, okay, they forced my free counterspell back, right? Like, their combo deck also got to play Force of Will. Anyone ever go to life in zero life legacy is always a concession. I mean, it depends on how much you hate yourself and how much time you want to waste. Force of Negation is a better design Force Will. Yeah, to a degree. I think Force of Negation still has a lot of problems. It doesn't have the exact issue we saw in the previous game, but it also just like the fact that your opponent doesn't have to make decisions about how they're tapping out feels real bad. Oh, you know what? I guess I should have I'm gonna counter their predict here because they know the top card of their deck, so I don't want them to draw 2. Yeah, I don't like. I'm not a fan of the play patterns that cards like Force of Negation and Force of Will create. I think one of the interesting parts of Magic is how players sequence their spells, and in my opinion, there should be some amount of punishment for sequencing in a way that makes you tap out. And cards like Force of Will remove that access of punishment. But I guess to find a blue instant out of their deck. Yeah, could be High Tide, could be something fair. This is we're learning along with you, chat. This is game 1. Yeah, I agree with that too. The fact that Force of Negation doesn't stop creatures makes it also kind of medium in Modern. Yeah, I just said that, Belbo, that I should have. You must have missed it. That I should have played my Delver before I played my land, so I could replay it. Yeah, opponent got a turnabout here, so very obviously. Obviously, High Tide has a Brainstorm. If I would have already had this land in play, I would have been able to Brainstorm this turn and potentially shuffle. I'm gonna go ahead and Chain Lightning their face here. And because they're on a combo deck, I think we're just like holding these two forces with 2 blue cards probably and hoping to run them down over the course of the next 4 turns. I mean, High Tide isn't really an established archetype. So, like, saying, like, you know, does the random tier 3 deck play X cards? Like, well, no. That's not really an established deck. So, glad we have 2 counterspells here. Have to force their Veil of Summer. Is it, like, crazy to, like, let them blow their load a little bit here? I kind of want to just, like, let them High Tide. We'll let them High Tide and just burn some resources. So I Wastelanded the Tropical Island in response to the High Tide, because if I go to Wasteland it afterwards, they could turn about and make some mana with it. Can you Prime Sub on mobile? On Android, you can. On iOS, you have to open your Twitch in your browser. So by not forcing the High Tide, I got them to cast their turnabout, so I got 1 more card out of them, basically. And now we're on the cross our fingers and pray plan. Just like hoping that this kills them over the course of the next 4 turns before they can try and combo again. Cunning Wish, yep. So you get to find an instant from their sideboard here and put it into their hand. Well, the fact that they didn't snap off a pick bodes well for us. Wonder if we'll see them grab something interactive with this Cunning Wish to try and buy themselves some time. Hydroblast, yep, that's exactly what they're doing here. We're going to see them probably Hydroblast to destroy this Dreadhorde Arcanist, but that does mean the Delver is still threatening to beat them down, right? There really isn't a stock High Tide list. Like that's something that Magic players or card game players even pretty constantly do. They're like, well, this isn't a stock list. It's like, well, the archetype you're referring to like isn't really played by many people. So like as far as like stock goes, it like isn't a real thing. Oh, you know what? They're a Time Spiral deck. I should have played this Flooded Strand. Holding it was a mistake because we could draw a soft counter. We're about to draw 7 cards. So if I draw a Spell Pierce here or a Pyroblast and can't cast it, how about this hand, chat? Is this hand pretty good? Do you think my opponent can win this game? What do you think? What do you think? This is for those of you that are practicing at home and are trying to play this incredibly skill-based game called Magic the Gathering. I'd like for you to take note of the hand that I have drawn here. It's very, very important. I think I'm just forcing their things that untap at this point. I'm pretty sure is the plan. Morning, Yama. This might be wrong. I don't know. I think if I had fewer counter spells, maybe I would try and force the high tides, but like feel like with triple force. We even had the chain lightning rolled up here too, because like we get to just kill them next turn. Like Mind's Desire is banned in this format, right? They didn't. I'm pretty sure they haven't unbanned that, right? Mind's Desire is still banned. I was like, man, it's been a while since I've played Legacy, but like, if Mind's Desire is legal, maybe we should play some more of it. Oh no! Oh no! They got Force of Negation, chat. How will we ever win the game now? Not Force of Negation. Oh, or Pact of Negation. Sorry, I was looking at my Force of Negation and misspoke. I mean, I hope they're not too salty, right? Like, they know what they're getting themselves into. Smoke if you got him. Smoke if you got him. Turtle Witness, thank you for the 25 months. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Huge counter war with 0 mana spent. Yep. Cutting Wish. It's a good thing they're about to die. It's a good thing they're about to die. Actually, they were dead. They were dead either way, right? Because their Pact of Negation resolved the way I sequenced my counterspells, so I could just Wasteland them and kill them. Which is funny. Yeah, they need to pay 5. I feel like I should Chain Lightning them, though, just so they know how insane the 7 was that they gave me. Like, the 7 was pretty insane. Alright. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast get in my deck. Surgical Extraction for taking their High Tides away, I think seems fine. This is an Oko out matchup. This is a probably Chain Lightning Bolt out for the last 2. Yeah, I expect having an entry fee Wargy will mean people will check and make sure they can actually play in the event before signing up for it. So, one of the issues we had with previous Hoots tournaments is we capped the tournament right away, but like 30% of the people who signed up or more, like, dropped the night before or didn't show up the day of. So, you know, if we only have 100 or 150 people, but they all actually show up, like, that's fine. Do I want Winter Orb in this matchup? I guess I could see this being okay. This is usually for the control matchup, but yeah, they do need a lot of mana to go off, right? And it makes all my soft counters better as the game goes along. It's probably better than bolts. Like these are like pseudo time walks some of the time. Let's try Winter Orb. See how it feels. I don't have a Force or a Daze, but I have a Spell Pierce and a Cantrip. With Hootie as my only threat, maybe this isn't good enough. I suppose I have some looks, though. Let's try it. I'm interested to see what the final number is. When we ran the sub poll asking people if an entry fee made them more or less likely to play, it was largely the more likely and less likely were basically evenly split, and the indifference was the largest proportion. So, interested to see how that plays out. Like I said, I'm not super worried about it because we're still 2 weeks out, basically. A week and a half or whatever. Daze isn't super useful here. I think I'm going to shuffle these looking for a hard counter or like a Delver. Defense grid. Alright. Punished for not taking the Daze. We found what we were looking for with the cantrip, but super punished for not taking the Daze. I keep the Dreadhorde Arcanist here. Unfortunately, one card short of playing Hootie here. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch this and go ahead and just bolt there. Oh wait, no, I could have surgicaled, right? Interesting. It's a free spell. Could have surgicaled. Is it crazy to surgical their brainstorms? Surgical their brainstorms. It's also can help us figure out how we want to sideboard for the post-board games. They're on 4 defense grids. Yeah, probably want to leave. Probably want Oko's in for game 3. So we can have a way to take defense grid off the table. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping the case is, Shin. I don't know. It's hard to predict. If the feedback after this one is we don't like there being an entry fee, we can always change it for the next, but... there are Cunning Wish decks. They could have a variety of ways to kill. I would assume there's a good chance we die next turn. Their deck didn't have Candelabra in it. Jethrin, thanks for the 10 months. Welcome back. Woo! Alright, we take those. A little bit of artifact jail yourself, opponent. So you're saying there's a chance. Take a chance on me. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I should have left the bolt in my bin. Sorry. I forgot. I wasn't paying attention. I was so excited. I was so excited about drawing Winter Orb. I forgot to leave cards in my bin. I apologize. We could still die here. We could still definitely be dead. It's gonna take a couple of turns, but... And again, for those not familiar with how this interaction plays out, defense grid does mean even if I cast this for free, I have to pay 3 mana. So I assume we're dead here. Yeah, with the extra land, I assume we're dead. I'm going to go ahead and hit my auto pass and let them do their thing. They should have 2 high tides, I believe. Yep. Alright, and this is Demonic Tutor at this point. I guess we'll wait and see what their win condition is. I'm not sure how exactly they're killing us these days. We can still force. Try again. Oh, High Tide Symmetrical. Look at that. The details matter. We could have forced there. Look at that. Alright, I'm going to concede. Definitely could have forced. And again, just like, I miss things. I'm human. I was blocking someone on Twitter while we were playing because I assumed we were dead. I don't care that you're right. I care about the explanation of why you're right. Nah, they stay fucking timed out. Get out of here, Sniper Wave. It's not about being right. I don't give a shit if you're right or not. Take a timeout. Take a timeout for untiming out someone that was correct but didn't tell me why they were correct. Come on now. You're not new here. Quote the Big Lebowski, you're not wrong, but you're still an asshole. I should have known better than to queue up Legacy with chat not on sub-only mode. That was a mistake. The person I was blocking on Twitter was someone who was complaining about getting timed out. So, I missed the line there because I timed someone out who was then complaining on Twitter about getting timed out, so I blocked them there. So, yeah, it's a whole thing, chat. It's a whole thing. I think I want these Okos for killing defense grids, right? I think is what I decided. Surgical's maybe not good enough. We'll trim this last bolt. I see it's great. Delver, Daze, plenty of lands, got a cantrip. I don't mind doing Magic Online content on occasion. Like, I think the games can be interesting and they're a refreshing change of pace, especially with how Standard and Historic have been lately every once in a while. But one thing that I've definitely experienced is, even though I post fewer Magic Online videos than Magic Arena videos, the raw number of negative comments and rude comments that the Magic Online videos get actually is higher than the sum total of negative and rude comments on all of my Magic Arena videos. Just as a rough measure. We're so good at flipping Delver, chat. Professional even. I think I'm gonna stick the Dreadhorde Arcanist here. I have the Daze. We get punished for sticking the Dreadhorde Arcanist in the event, like, they go defense grid and then counter our Daze, but outside of that, we're in a pretty reasonable spot, and I like getting this extra threat down. Any idea why? I would assume it's because of me critiquing. I think people who are invested in Legacy and Modern enough, on average, to consume Legacy and Modern content, take critiques of these formats more personally than people who play Standard and Historic take critiques of those formats. Like, if I sit there and talk about how Historic or Standard sucks for X, Y, or Z reason, a lot of times people are like, yeah, you're right that sucks for those reasons, and they should really address those or fix those, or rotation will be good. Whereas, like, when you tell people like, oh, I don't enjoy this thing that you've spent, $4,000 to play your Storm deck in, people tend to take it more personally. I think I'm brainstorming here. So, like, there's some merit to, I'm gonna throw Hootie back because this is using my graveyard right now. There's definitely some merit to preordaining as opposed to brainstorming, because I'm flashing back the cantrip that I'm casting here with Dreadhorde Arcanist. And flashback brainstorm, I don't have another shuffle, isn't nearly as good. Wow, this hand's great. Alright, so I am going to put back Preordain, put back Volk, so I can draw Volk next turn, I think. So next turn, I'll get to Preordain, flashback Preordain, cast Winter Orb, and then have Daze plus Force up. Magic Online's a much bigger deal because you get sent to the Shadow Realm when you lose here. Yeah, that too. Yeah, that's fine because I'm playing a Winter Orb next turn. So this game should pretty much be over then at this point. So we're drawing Volk. We know there's a Preordain on top of our deck, which I think we're actually drawing. Just like having an extra blue card. Definitely don't want a Wasteland. I think I'll take the Preordain for now as a miscellaneous extra blue card. And then I think at this point we're digging for just a second Force, right? He says as he tops a second Force. Alright, good luck, Godspeed. Alright, play this card that says you don't get to untap your lands. Your move, Yugi boy. This is the point where you just like flip your hand over, so that way if you're playing in paper, your opponent knows, like, you know, we're done here. 3 free counter spells, you don't untap your lands, go. Like I said, I don't mind playing aggro decks in these formats on occasion. This deck is definitely aggressively slanted. Your queen gets appropriately protected. Are we being salt roped? Eh, probably not. Like people because the timers on Moto are so long, people very frequently are doing 2 things at once because unlike Magic Arena, which people, if you're not familiar with Magic Online, you literally get 9.5 minutes per game action in this format, in this application. So like you can like take a break, cook a pizza, whatever you need to do it. Spoony Power, thank you for the 2 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. What is Salt Rope? Salt Rope is when your opponent walks away from the computer and just ropes out. The downside of that, too, is if they are salty, we're going to have to sit here for 9 minutes while they time out. So hopefully their doorbell just rang and they're going to be back in a second, but... Or it's their draft pick or whatever. Sure, that's the one spell you get to resolve. that one resolves. All right, onward, upwards, backwards, forwards. You look like you're resub Dream Acremia. Welcome back. Sometimes when you resub, you have to refresh to send the notification through. Oh, right. My desk is messed up still. I think putting it all the way down resets it. All right. Successfully reset it. Yeah, there you go, Dream. And Meadow, thanks for the 2 years of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Now you can sign up for the tourney. Yes, the next open is open for signups. I believe we had 40 or so people signed up already. Still plenty of time to do that. We're capping at 256 again. Event's about a week and a half out. It's going to be historic with Reclamation and Teferi the Time Raveler being. We've had 2 bad Oko matchups so far. I assume Oko is one of those cards that is probably better in the fair matchups. Mostly I'm watching on YouTube, but I want to drop in and say thanks for the content. I've been having a rough time lately, and your videos provide some escape. Thanks for keeping me around, Dr. Mr. Punny. Hope things turn around for you personally. Also, by the way, just in general, looking for feedback from subs, especially on how the adjusted schedule's been. We've been doing almost daily for almost 2 weeks now. People that voted for liking more frequent, is that still the case? So we've been doing it more frequently. Opinions on start times, etc., etc. I miss you early in the mornings, but I like you being on every day. Thanks. You're a guy who can usually only watch YouTube. This has been working for me. Yeah, posting almost every day is better for the YouTube algorithm too. The sub who watches you at work, the new schedule is better because most of my morning meetings are over before you go live, so I can pay more attention. Sweet, that's good feedback. Gas Fiend, let's get your sword to go at that shield. Thanks for the 12 months. Requirements for signing up and paying the entry fee. Yes, yeah, you do still need to be capable of sharing your arena window upon request to Discord, and you can test that your computer and your internet have the capability to do that at any point in any Discord server, including Homelandia. Yep. Yeah, and if you read through the details, it tells you how to do that in there. But basically, in Discord, when you have Arena Live, you just click the Go Live button in one of the voice channels, and you select your Arena window to share. Because we do still need screen shares like that to provide coverage for the event. Because even with a little bit more support, even with entry fees and more price support, the primary goal of the event is to do coverage still. I voted for longer days, but I've really enjoyed the shorter days, but every day with a later start time since I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the 11 a.m. seems to be a pretty good-ish start time. It means I overlap with Croaky's a little bit less too on the arena days, which means we have a little bit higher count when some of the other less large, or when some of the other large streamers aren't online as much too, which is nice. Man, we joke about dead format on Arena sometimes, but just like we've been in the legacy queue for 4.5 minutes now. I think this is longer than all 3 of the games we played in the first match, actually, because the first match is like bang bang bang, someone died really quickly every time. Hey, we got one. Ooh, yeah, that's a good point, too. If you're testing in the Hooglandia Discord, ask someone to watch your stream and make sure that it's working for them. I appreciate that. Sure. Again, like, Brainstorm, Fetch Land, probably a keep regardless of what the rest of it is. I think I'm actually... So, I could just pass here and wait to find out what they're doing, but at the same time, I know I'm looking for a threat regardless of what they're playing, so I think we just preordain digging for a threat to start. Hey, Slime and Kid, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome to Hooglandia. And we're definitely bottoming that. I'm gonna bottom again here, just looking for the threat, I think. Play a non-basic land. Do it. Basic Island Delver. I'm not super familiar with Legacy these days, so I'm not going to speculate on what this could be too much. Is blue-red Delver still a thing? The basic land would imply a 2-color Delver deck usually, I would think. Alright, so I think I'm going to keep a Wasteland just in case. In case they fetch a Volk. If they're a 2-color Delver deck, fetch a Trop here and play a Delver out. Thrice, thanks for the 25 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Could be blue-red or budget mono-blue. Okay. Yeah, blue-red usually fits at least an island as a basic, right? Because there's sometimes a Price of Progress deck, or occasionally Blood Moon. Yep. Our pile of counterspells here, not looking particularly stellar. I think I'm luckier than my opponent, so I'm going to decline to block. Sweet. Yeah, we're in chair patch notes. We'll take a peek at those when we sign on the day. Hopefully, they cast a spell here and we can Daze them. I'm going to be aggressive with this Daze because this card's basically drawing dead at this point. Although they did go ahead and fetch a Volk for us here, which is nice. So glad we kept the Wasteland. This also helps, this also hopefully helps stop them from flipping their Delvers if we're a little bit fortunate. Look at that! Remember when I said I was luckier than them, chat? Oh, yeah. Just like we drew it up, chat. Just like we drew it up. Hashtag sometimes lucky. One would fall! Thank you for the interior support. Let's get your sword to go with that shield. Thanks for keeping me around. Don't Daze me, bro. Come on, race. Yeah, get it. Flip the Delver, bolt your thing, Wasteland you. If they have a bolt here of their own, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. It's looking like what's about to happen. Dreadhorde Arcanist. There's no really real reason to Daze here. They'll just Daze back. Looking for another burn spell here. Okay. Losing the race currently. I think Delver would be a great addition to Historic. Delver, Huntmaster, the Fells, Lingering Souls. Give me all the sweet Innistrad cards I love. That just, like, aren't playable in Modern. Pilfered Goods and Solitary Monk got nerfed. Someone said Pilfered Goods was increased to a 3 cost, I believe. What'd they do to Solitary Monk? Solitary Monk was the 4-3 elusive, right? If I recall correctly. It's now a 3-3. Sure. Sounds good. Digital games are so sweet. They can just, like, massage designs like that. They're like, this is really close, but we just gotta adjust a little bit. Yeah, I feel like the fact that, like, Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod are still banned in Modern at this point is just, like, a, like, historical testimony to Wizards' inability to revisit and rebalance their formats as things change. It's just, like, comical at this point. Comical and frustrating. I think I'm forcing their Daze here. Pitching this Daze is my plan. Although, I guess they just get to rebolt this Insectile Aberration next turn, so, like, probably dead here either way if they have another piece of interaction. Okay. Lou Mason, thanks to 17 months. Welcome back. They added things to the watch list. Imagine a game having a watch list, chat. What kind of unreasonable transparency and communication is that? A watch list? I think we're dead here at this point, right? I'm brainstorm locking myself. I don't have a third land. These are just beating me down. Scavenging Ooze and Sylvan Library seem good here. Abrade seems great. Vapor Snag might be fine. Red Elemental Blast, Pyroblast. I think I want at least a couple of these. I think I trim some of these in the fair matchup because 2 for 1 yourself isn't generally stellar, but we're also still a Protect the Queen deck at the core, so I think cutting all of them is probably wrong. Daze, that game, showing us how it could be a little bit awkward as the game goes along. We're also going to be a little bit more mana hungry post board, boarding and Scavenging Ooze, so something else else back land sounds less appealing. I think I'm just going to trim those around the edges while we bring in more cards that play to the board. This is fine. That's true. Wizards almost assuredly has a watch list internally. Just, again, as is the issue with most things regarding Wizards of the Coast, their communication has got awful. Huh? So I could keep these and then just concede when they wasteland me. Or I could shuffle looking for a land. I think I'm going to shuffle looking for a land. I kind of want to fetch land to pair with this Brainstorm anyways. And, like, ideally not just being dead to Wasteland is preferred. Oh, they're Grixis Delver. Okay. As strong as my desire is to Wasteland them here on one, I think I'd rather just kill their threat. Can you Wasteland? Wasteland in response. No. So, Wasteland here, if we look at the card, Sacrifice Wasteland is part of the activation cost of this. Everything before the colon you do to put the spell on the stack. So, once Wasteland's trigger is on the stack, Wasteland is in the graveyard and it's been sacrificed. I like that the Monk nerf will weaken both the aggressive Elusives deck and Heimer VI a little bit. It's a nice, good 2-for-1. I think I lead on Delver here. Although maybe playing Skews to make them Daze and put themselves back into their land isn't the worst either, though. Could go either way on that. Maybe saving the Delver so I can Brainstorm the same turn I play. It could be appealing. Try and keep my thing alive. They've got a bunch of cards in their hand, but I've got a threat in play and another threat in hand. So hopefully with that force there, we'll tax the removal a little bit and get to run them down here. Heimer's turrets, they specified the turrets are on the watch list. That's great. I think that's something I've talked about, but I think other people have talked about in the community too. Like maybe they just flip the keywords on some of their turrets if they want to rebalance things. They have a lot of knobs they can turn with balancing Heimer. Delver says rats. There's no creatures in my bin anyway, so pretty sure we just played this around Daze. I think that's the first time we've had a Delver trigger and not had it flip so far in 3 matches, so running pretty hot with regards to that. Also, can we take a moment and anybody that's already drinking in part of their day, can you pour one out for Tarmogoyf, by the way? Just like not even playable in this format anymore. We're sitting here registered Hooting Mandrills. Plague Engineer is pretty good. I think I'm just passing the turn. I don't really want to trade Hootie for Plague Engineer. I think I'd rather try and draw a Bolt or a Chain Lightning. Eliminate. Eliminate. Look at that. Strictly Better Smother chat. Yeah, you can always type next open in chat to find details for the next open. There's also a Hooglandia opens tab on my website where you can click there and find coverage of all of the past opens as well as the link to register for the upcoming open. So both that command and my website stay constantly up to date. Why does Plague Engineer have Death Touch? Because Magic 2019 is a real pushed was a real pushed year. Depending on your sub level, does your sub emblem change? Yeah, so they actually, and I can customize it too, but there's a silver star and gold stars for tier 2 and tier 3 now. I should probably try and think of something that fits in with the Hooglandia motif to customize that. Yeah, see Chuki and Kunsen, dude light there. And there's Cody with the silver. Can you have a whale instead of a star? You have a whale emote, dude light. But it's not gold. That's fair. The gold whales are more rare in Hooglandia, to be fair. So we like attacking and bolting my Hooting Mandrills so I can't block. We just like throwing away our Dreadhorde Arcanist to cantrip. Attack seems loose. So, Dreadhorde Arcanist here doesn't really have anything great in my bin to flashback anyways. I'm going to go ahead and play it out. Actually worth noting here that I think my opponent, I'm confident, my opponent made a mistake. They named Human with this Plague Engineer when my Delver was unflipped. They should have named Wizard because Plague Engineer is one-sided, and if they would have named Wizard, they would have also shrunk my Dreadhorde Arcanist power. So small trip up there on their Plague Engineer, if you're engineering in the Delver matchup. Different color Jester Scepters. Maybe, so the problem is the whatever you do has to look good on all the different sub-icons, which is kind of a tough sell. No, of course Plague Engineer isn't symmetrical. Were any of the awful designs they made in 2019 symmetrical? Okay, if they have another bolt in hand, they get to kill my Hooting Mandrills when it blocks, and then they kind of run away with the game. Didn't know they had Young Peasy in their deck. If we get a game 3, I'm going to bring the Rough Tumble in for it, but there's a good chance we just don't get out of this game. Oh, we just have a Drown in the lock. Nice. Yeah, good games, opponent. Hey, thanks for the sub gift, Mr. Polite. I appreciate it. Welcome to Hooglandia Disconnect. We are 1 and 2, so for people that aren't familiar with Magic Online Leagues, it costs us $10 to play in this. If we go 2 and 3, we get $5 back. If we go 3 and 2, we get our $10 back plus $2 extra. Yeah, drown in the lock checks on both casting and resolution. Hey Vita, as a heads up, we're gonna be playing Shen Fiora today at the end of the stream. So if you want to bump something else, you're welcome to. It's already at the top of the queue. Dead of Winter Symmetrical. Yeah, but that's a sweeper more than a prison card. Is there still a no-fly list? Nope. Everything's individual consideration. So if it's been a little bit since you've been here, the price of submitting a deck is a little bit higher now. I think I'm going to keep these. Oko's like technically a threat, and I might want Bolt and might want a counterspell. Maybe I'm supposed to draw the Force here just in case they're a cheese deck. Turn 1 basic forest. I clicked the wrong cantrip. Definitely meant to brainstorm there. Well, now that we're here, I'm gonna keep these again. Draw the Spell Pierce, play this pass. I think MTG Bot said they played a snow deck last time they were in a league. I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep the Force here. I don't really need a 4th land though, right? So we're gonna throw that back. I'm gonna bottom the Spell Pierce. Fetch the Trop, play the Dreadhorde Arcanist. What's the policy for Runeterra decks that got nerfed or buffed in patches? You are welcome to resubmit if you would like, or you can leave them and they can still get played. I feel like Runeterra does a pretty good job of changes they make not rendering things unplayable though. Like one of the big downsides is it's not just like they're banning things that like make decks no longer be decks. So I think a lot of the time it's not going to be an issue, but if someone feels like their submission was meaningfully changed, they're welcome to swap it back. Oh, I totally missed the fact that they revealed the Yorion because it didn't put it in my face. I just looked up when they brainstormed and noticed they had 67 cards in their deck, and I was like, oh, they have a thing. Well, that was a little abrupt, opponent. Can't counter that one. Now that looks like an elk to me, so everybody just come and see it's a +1, not a -3. How do you get past WotC's R&D? Hey, here's a concept you've heard. We're gonna daze this Force of Negation. Bottoms up, chat. Bottoms up. I'm doing all right, Mr. Polite. That's an Uro. That Daze ramped us. That it did. Thanks for the 2/3 of a year, Mr. Polite. And this is a good, so something, I think it was Bob and Cheese on Twitter, really hammered the nail home on what was kind of the biggest issue with Magic in 2020, 2019. And that's, previously speaking, if you had issues with designs that happened in Standard, you could leave Standard to get away from those designs. But the designs have been so pushed in recent memory that the issues that are you currently experience in Standard have just blasted out across every format in Magic, right? Like, I'm literally playing against Uro Yorion here in Legacy. So, like, there's no safe haven from what you're experiencing or what you're trying to get away from. You leave Standard and you play against everything that's still an issue in Standard, and then also things that are banned in Standard. Yeah, Uro's not going anywhere. Uro and Embercleave are there till fall 2021. Alright, I just like leave this and elk it. I think we just like elk plus bolt this, right? I guess it's drawing a card. I'm gonna force this. Nice war game. Force back, sure. They pitched an Oko. Really? Their Oko doesn't have abs like ours, though, so strictly worse. We could try and steal it. No, Oko's only grabs things with 3 power or less. Yeah, it's power, not CMC. That's also a very common mistake when those things were standard legal. I'm cracking that fetch there because I had Brainstorm 2 lands to the top of my deck in the previous turn, so definitely want to shuffle those. Now that looks like an elk to me, so everybody just come and see. We can lightning bolt it because it's now a 3/3. Hey. Yeah, Uro's absurd everywhere. I don't believe Embercleave is seeing play in Modern or Legacy. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Embercleave sees some play in... I believe Embercleave sees some play in Pioneer, though. Donald Trump's niece claims that he paid someone to take the SAT for him. Sure, why not? What's Oko's ultimate again? Swap control of an artifact or creature you control for a creature an opponent controls with 3 power or less. Little abrupt opponent. Oh, we're killing my Arcanist. Okay, sure. So their last card is Yorion here? Yeah, we take those. Oh yeah, his -5 isn't very good. Card's unplayable. Oh, when did that happen? Oh, they pitched it to Force of Negation. That's hilarious. I totally missed that. It was just like in the pile here with the rest of exiled cards. That's super funny. The Moto interface is so bad. Like, one of the things Arena does really well is showing you all the cards your opponent could cast. Whereas Moto very much does not do that. We'll make a food here, and then next turn we'll swap them the food for the Mistral Griffin. Wasteland's a great draw. Yep. Yep. Very, very good. Well, I guess if they... Okay, they are playing Food Chain. So they have infinite mana, but they don't have anything to do with it, right? So Mistral. Oh, this stops me from Okoing their stuff, so that's still good for them. Are we really gonna sit here and cast this over and over again instead of just tapping our lands to cast our Yorion? Yeah, they have infinite creature mana. So Food Chain lets them exile a thing. This they can play from exile, so they have an arbitrarily large amount of blue mana. Come on, Delver. Elk that one. But, like, they can't decay Oko because the Corrupt Decay is in exile. They play Flash Chip back already. No, they don't. They only have Force Wall. They're bin. So blinking the snap doesn't do anything. Yeah, this is their exile. Sorry, it's like that. Alright, I'm going to concede now, because Manipulate Fate's going to get them a bunch of Mistral Griffins. They have infinite mana, so they can cast them all. Okay, so we're going to board at least one Wasteland out here. Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast sound good. Scavenging Ooze sounds great against the Uro deck. Daze is maybe not great. They tend to have plenty of mana, and I can't short their mana with things like Wasteland usually. Is Sylvan Library worth bringing in? It's kind of a slow fair matchup, right? Maybe Submerge. This does take Uro off the table, which is nice. Trim a couple Force of Negations. Leave Force of Will in, because tagging Food Chain or some of the other more powerful cards on occasion is still good. Yeah, I don't think Surgical is good enough for Uro. I think Scavenging Ooze and Blast and Oko are plenty for that. The reason you split Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast, yeah, cards like Cabal Therapy and Meddling Mage occasionally see play in Legacy. So it's like basically one of those like strictly optimal things where you just like split them because of corner cases. Delver on one. This is how we do. Do 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 do. You were doing so well, Delver. You were doing so well. Yep. Looking for a land here. Alright. We hold up Spell Pierce, they could play Food Chain next turn. Maybe they have a non-abrupt decay removal spell. The Jonah! Thank you for the entire year support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Let's get you a sword to go with that shield. Hope everything works out okay, hostage. Hopefully, if you are positive, it's one of the mild cases. You can just hold up for a couple of weeks. This is a good example of why, even though Wasteland's pretty bad here, we don't board all of them out. Opponent brainstorming here. I assume they're setting up to escape Uro next turn, which is probably the death of us. We also pitched a Mist-Hallowed Griffin to that Force of Will. So they have a 3/3 flyer they can cast here as well. So they have unlimited blue creature mana next turn. I'm just not worried about dying playing this Uro out here. I guess that makes sense. Also choked on lands. Oh, there's exiling this Uro in response? Sure. This is the part of Moto where I wish I could be like, hey, can you just like show me your hand and I can concede if we're dead? Hey, thanks for 25 months to Harlequin. Welcome back. Because like if they have like a walking ballista here or whatever, we're just dead. Just sit here and let them go through the motions. In case we're not just dead. You can just ask in chat. Not really. There's these Magic Online leagues are online gambling, so like people are incentivized to lie if you just like ask. I'm not saying everyone would lie, but there are the types of people who would be incentivized to lie because they're standing to gain actual monetary gain because it's online gambling. Yeah, they have to make 38 mana to kill us. I'm just gonna be done. I don't think I care enough. I think I'm gonna go ahead and be done with this one. Usually I look to play decks for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and we just rolled past the old 90-minute mark. This felt very similar to classic Temur Delver back when it played Tarmogoyf in the day. Like, when we had games like against High Tide, where we got our threats into play and had a bunch of protection up for them, we ran our opponent down. But even with Oko here, it felt like anytime our opponent actually did something, we anytime our opponent did something that actually resolved, it felt like we were behind in a way that we couldn't catch back up from. So, I know this deck is very good. It has a lot of good results, but that's basically how it plays out. You're like, all right, I do my thing, and I try and get ahead and stay ahead, and if you fail to get ahead, you die very quickly, usually. So I'm going to go ahead and hit a quick ad roll while I get set up and flipped over for the next one. When we get back, we're going to kick the tires on some Modern, and we're going to play the recently historic suspended Winota here. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out today, folks. Don't go anywhere.